Now to capitalism's great rival, socialism. And the first thing to understand is that socialism is not one thing, it's a vast spectrum. The basic definition, an economic system where the means of production are socially owned rather than privately held, and where production is organized around social need rather than private profit. But that simple definition stretches across an enormous range, from moderate social democracy, which keeps markets but uses taxes and public programs to correct their outcomes, all the way to revolutionary Marxism-Leninism, which sought to abolish private property entirely under a centrally planned economy run by a vanguard party. The story begins with the early 19th century utopian socialists, Fourier, Saint-Simon, and Robert Owen. They offered the first systematic critiques of how capitalism treated workers and dreamed up cooperative communities. Marx and Engels dismissed them as impractical dreamers, coining the term utopian socialism to contrast with their own scientific socialism, a socialism grounded, they claimed, in the hard analysis of history rather than moral appeals to the rich. Marx's own vision held that abolishing private property would end exploitation, let production serve human needs, and eventually allow the state itself to wither away. But the reality of 20th century socialist states, the Soviet Union, China, Cuba, Vietnam, Eastern Europe, was rigid bureaucratic planning, political repression, and chronic inefficiency, not emancipation, not abundance. Why did central planning struggle so badly? The Austrian economist Ludwig von Mises gave the classic answer back in 1920. Rational economic calculation is impossible without market prices. In a market, prices carry information about scarcity, silently coordinating millions of decisions. Abolish prices, and planners are flying blind, producing chronic shortages, surpluses, and waste. The economist Oskar Langer tried to rescue socialism with market socialism, keeping prices while socializing ownership, but no stable, efficient version of it has ever been demonstrated to work. When the Soviet Union collapsed in 1991, state socialism was largely discredited as a practical system. Today, only a handful of countries, North Korea, Cuba, and in hybrid form Venezuela, remain organized on socialist lines. China, despite Communist Party rule, runs what's really state capitalism, and yet socialist ideas have surged back since 2008. Bernie Sanders and the Democratic Socialists of America, Jeremy Corbyn's Labour Party, Europe's eco-socialist Greens. But notice, this isn't a return to Soviet central planning. It's a revival of the social democratic tradition, using democratic politics to constrain and redistribute the outcomes of market capitalism.